Hello, my name is Philip Nicholas and welcome to Scholia, a place to study the classical, literary, philosophical and sacred texts. So I thought I'd just give you a quick tour of the site. So as you can see here, here's the landing and basically what we have currently in our library. So we have some poetry, we have some drama, we have some philosophy, and we have the Bible. And you can click here. For example, I want to have a look at the Critique of Pure Reason by philosopher Kant. I can click on the English version and I can expand here to see the full table of contents. And I'm interested, let's say, in the analytic of principles. So I click on that and there I am. So what's special about Scholia is that it's a platform for note-taking, quotations, and annotations. So what we do is we structure the texts that we're working with. So I can click on a line here and I can save it as save the quotation so I can look at it later. I can make a note on this passage. So let's say here I can add a note, and if you add a note it automatically saves the quotation. So here is my note. I like this passage. I can add tags. So beautiful, for example, and you press enter to add, and you save that, and there is your note that you've added to this passage. And clicking on any sentence here opens the resource tab, and here there's a bunch of interesting stuff. What we're going to try to be building here on the platform is that any passage should have various links to sources or commentaries outside of the platform. So the goal of the platform is not to take all texts in existence, but only the classical texts, because those are the texts that are continuously revisited and worked on, but there are constantly new commentaries, reflections, and ideas around these texts, and it would be good to know what's out there. So that's the thoughts behind these commentary sections, and that's the verbatim means basically that somebody is quoting this passage or has a quote including this passage directly, right? So who is talking about this directly, as is, right? And then you have paraphrase, who is paraphrasing this passage, and then you have allusion, who's alluding to it. In addition to that, you can also find articles from our own user-generated articles here on this platform. So I'll show you that soon, but let me just finish talking about the resource panel. So you got basics about, what is this text, where is it from, how is it produced. So what we do is we gather things in public domain or license things if we're able, and if there are any modernizations and translations that we have done, we will add that to the description there. So if you're interested to look at some other place in this text, you can jump through the table of contents here. You can look at some sentence details, some metadata, because the whole thing is structured. So right, every sentence is counted, everything is numbered, but more importantly, you can compare this text. So if you click on, I say I want to compare it to for whatever reason, Paradise Lost, I can click on that here and it opens a new pane, new panel, and that has its own tracking here. You can open a new pane and its own resource panel and make quotations and so on. So here we have Paradise Lost by Milton. Over there is Kant. So oops, we lost it's a bit jarring there because the screen got squeezed. But anyway, you can open up multiple passages, and I think it's a bit easier if I zoom out, but I'm currently just zoomed in so it's clearer for you to see. But that's basically the idea, is that you can look at a text open up different other texts and compare them side by side if you're interested in how Kant relates to Paradise Lost or passages in the Bible, or Paradise Lost with the Bible. You know, the opportunities here are infinite. And you can just close the panel there, close this panel, and it will come back to where you were here. Now, in addition to that, there are some more options here. So we're looking at the Critique of Pure Reason, and it comes with reference systems. There's the B edition, there's the Akademische Ausgabe. So we have some of that. You can also look at the text, different sort of line spacing, reading width, and so on. But importantly, you can also look at the translation with the source. So if you click on that, we open up here the text with paragraph by paragraph, the English translation and the German. So if you really want to dig deep, you can do that here. You select the source with translation, and then you can select, well, I want sentence by sentence, and then it will do that. It will divvy up sentence by sentence. So we've got a passage by Kant. Kant, famously, you know, long sentences, very heavy-duty metaphysical thinker. You can have it side by side, like this. So you can, in the same pane, look at it like that. And if you select the passage, it will shadow the corresponding passage in the translation there. So the idea here is that we have a tool where we can really dig into a text, and the digital apparatus and tools that we have here are meant to enhance our study capabilities. It's not meant to replace them, but it's meant to enhance them, to strengthen them, to empower them. So you can really stay with the text and work with it. Okay, last thing I want to say is that this is a work in progress. This is currently just myself finding texts, processing them, building this platform and everything, and errors and mistakes are bound to happen, and I think that this won't succeed without the community. So if you spot something that looks off or wrong, or we got some reference wrong, incorrect, then click here to send the feedback. You can just write whatever's on your mind and we'll catch it. Okay, so you can read text, you can make notes, you can store quotations, everything is neatly structured. What else can you do here? Well, if I close the reader and I find my previous note, you can see it here. Here's my note, I like this passage. You can search by, I don't currently just have one note here, but you could search by any, contents or tags, right? I put in beautiful, the tags are already there, so you can sort it by that. You can filter by book. So here's your note. You can click on it and you come back to where you were. Here's my note, I like this passage. You can edit the note, it's fine. I go back. Sorry, that's working correct. I'll come back to my notes here. You can find your quotations over here, the things you've saved, right? And in addition to saving from our hosted text, you can also save quotations from user-generated texts. So I'll show you that next. Okay, so we got my notes. What else can I do? Well, you can write articles. You can take those quotations and notes and put them into a piece, into an article, and then make it public. So that's the way it works here. You can make an article. Let me just make a new article here. A new article or something on Kant. Create that. And this is the editor. So you can add a description, you can add some topics from a pre-selected list, and then here you can go ahead. here you can go ahead and write. Here are my thoughts on this matter. Okay, and I can input a quotation. So here's the new quote, I think, that I selected. So I can just click that and insert. There you go. There's the quote. And the nice thing about this is that it is linked to the hosted text. If there are any changes in the hosted text, that will be reflected in this quote. So if there is a typo or something somewhere, or if there's a kind of better expression that can be made, it'll update it here as well. Okay, so you can quote stuff from the quotes you've selected and stored. So you can edit this and display it differently. So I want not just the translation, but I want both the source and translation. Then you can get them like this. So you get the original German, and here you have the English translation side by side. Well, you can also change it. You can put it like side by side like this, or inverted like that. So if you want to really dig into a passage, you can get the English and the German side by side, or Norwegian and English, or what have you, right? Depending on the text and the available translations and whatever the source is in. I'm just showing you what's possible. So let's say I have an external source. So I'm reading from a commentary that's not yet in this platform, but I want to cite it. Well, you can do that too. So I can click Cite here, and I can look for a source. Let's say I'm looking on something from Hegel, right? Here is the Science of Logic, currently in the database. And then I can just put in pages, insert. And that will be a citation in author date, Chicago style. Currently we only support one style, but if there's interest, maybe we can build that out to select different styles. But you want to cite something that's not in the database. I don't know. Let's say I have something on Derrida or whatever, right? It doesn't exist. So what you do is you create a new source, and then here you can put in the source, all the bibliographical data, and then contributors, right? Who are the people involved in that text. So let's say if there is a text by Derrida, you will need to find Derrida. I don't think we have anything by Derrida yet, so Derrida won't show up as a person. In that case, you just create a new person, right? You create Jacques Derrida, full name, whatever. Or let's say Gilles Deleuze, right? So you put in the name, and then the sort name will come out automatically. You can also edit it if need be, and so on, right? You added the person, and then you add the person to as part of the contributors based on their role, and there you got the source, and that's in the database, and it will be available for everyone. And the thing is that if you create the source and you're the one just using it, you can edit it and stuff, it'll be fine. But if someone else starts using the same source, then only editors of the platform can edit that source then, right? So if there's any typos or something is incorrect, then you'll have to fix it, ask an editor to go and fix it. And that's easy by just asking for sending a feedback message, right? You can also send it from here, from the user panel. If you click your name once you're logged in, you can click send feedback, and it'll send whatever's on you can send whatever's on your mind. Okay, then that's a lot there. It's a lot of potential here, but it doesn't stop there. You may want to not just put this article out. You will want some feedback. You can request a review here. You click on that, it'll open up it will send a snapshot of the article to the editorial board, and that starts kind of like a commentary process on on this article. So if you make any changes after you've sent a request to review, you need to request again to get the latest one. And you can do this as many times as you want. Oftentimes you will send a request and get some feedback, and then you want to make some changes and request again. So that's totally fine. But this isn't like Google Docs where it's kind of live editing back and forth. Because think of it more as like how traditional publishing works, is that you send a snapshot of your piece to an editor. They get that snapshot. So by email, whatever, you send the file, right? And if you change your file, they don't see that change. They are only working with the file you sent them. So think of it like kind of like that. But this also kind of gives us, like, I think, a more structured method of, like, you finish something, you send it off, you get the feedback, and then you work on it and send it out again. So why do you want to do that? Well, you might want just general feedback, or you might want to do some quality assurance. You want to make sure that this looks like a scholarly article. If that is what you're aiming for, then you can request that, and then you can get a kind of special label by us, kind of a seal of approval by the editorial board. If that is what you want, you're welcome to just publish it as is, because this doesn't need to be an article in a sort of classical traditional sense. It can be a collection of quotes, collection of interesting passages and so on that are just centered around the theme or whatever. The platform doesn't really discriminate on in terms of that. So you're welcome to do what you like, as long as it kind of follows the spirit of what this platform is trying to be. And then there is a sources menu here. If you have your sources, you want to change them, you can do that there. A profile here, you can add some stuff about yourself. And then once you publish your article, it'll pop out in articles, which is then available for everyone. So here I have one that I made, that's from a previous text that I've written, and you can look at basically here I'm quoting Kant and talking about the thing in itself and other kind of back and forth between Kant and Hegel. So since I'm quoting Kant here, this is from the site, I can click on the passage there, I like the reference, and it'll open exactly where that passage is taken from. So I can look around and see, like, aha, this follows from that, and then this other stuff follows. I can click on this, or it should be clickable. Okay, little bug there, we'll fix that later. But it open up the resource panel here, and you see, well, what else is relevant to this passage? Who else has talked about it? Notice that once I've selected this passage, you see that articles says 1, which means that someone in the platform has written about this. And then you see my article there. So you can click on that, and it takes you back to the article. So everything is neatly structured, neatly kind of connected. A lot of way people work with texts are very manual. You write it down, and then, well, you've made an error, but too late, it's printed and published now. So too bad, right? It's kind of like done. But here we can make use of the digital tools to create more accurate and better connections between texts and ideas, right? Okay, so I think that covers articles. So you see here, you can also click on sentences that users have written in their articles, because let's say I'm writing something here, I'm making a claim. So let's say I click on that, right? I can save that as well. So I can click that and then save it, right? Maybe I should also add a note to it. Already in a collection. Okay, good. So then I can go to articles, something on Kant. Here's the draft. I click on that. I open this, and then I can quotation and see here. This passage is from a user-generated article, so I can put that in there. And there I am quoting myself, like a proper academic. And then, of course, there's a link there to the site. Now, the issue here is that the passage here might not reflect the current state of the article, because I think what happens with user-generated articles is that we take snapshots when you save quotations from those, whereas with quotations from hosted text are more strongly linked. I think this is because otherwise there'll be too much load on the system, but maybe this is something we can change or work around. We'll see how things go. But that's, I'm just showing you kind of what are the possibilities here. So you can see that you got the citation there from myself in this paper. So I can click on that and that'll open this again, right? So it opens up for a lot of possibilities in terms of commenting, sharing your ideas, getting your ideas commented on by others and others again, and you can reply to that, and you can formalize a discussion on ideas and thoughts and the text. This is what Scholia is really all about. It's a workbench for deep study and inspired by the marginal notes that ancient and medieval scholars they wrote alongside classical texts, and this is the tradition we want to elevate and continue and be sort of reinforced by the technologies that we have around us. So I hope this looks interesting, sounds interesting to you. You're also just very welcome to just peruse, just read, just enjoy. Find some Shakespeare sonnets here, music to hear, why hearest thou music sadly, and so on, right? And also we're open to new ideas and feedback. So thank you very much for your attention, and I hope you have a wonderful time here at Scholia, and I wish you a good day.